Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my final books beside my bed video for May. Hopefully this will be the shortest wrap up ever because I only have 2 books to talk about, 2 picture books and 2 novels, because it was that kind of week. In fact, it was report writing week, so I had to prioritize doing my actual job. And by the time I finished that, I really was not in the mood for reading. And I know I've said that, and that was basically just the summary of May. I just didn't really feel like it. And you may have seen in my recent video I talked about my stats. My book numbers are up, but my page count is way down because 50% of the books that I read in May were picture books. That's totally fine. I'm not upset about that, but at the same time, it's very symptomatic of the kind of month that May was. So we are going to start with the 2 picture books, which were review titles that I received. So I do talk about them here on this channel as well. The first one is Walking the Rock Country in Kakadu. This is by Diane Lucas, Ben Tyler, and illustrated by Emma Long. It is a gorgeous book, and I have read the first book by this author and illustrated trio last year when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. It is an Australian First Nations picture book that looks at different environments, and the way that the story is told is really unique because it's Ben and Diane going for a walk in various parts of Australia and talking about the traditional cultures and the way that our Indigenous population care for the land, in this case, the rock country in Kakadu. So Kakadu is in North Australia and is a really, really beautiful place. I've never been, but it's on my bucket list of places to go. And together they're, sharing in the beautiful scenery and having discussions about the animals and the landscape and the way that Aboriginal people have always interacted with both of those throughout time. The really cool thing about this book, if you do purchase it, there is a little QR code that will take you to a recording of Diane and Ben reading the story, because it is a dialogue. So it's literally a conversation, and so listening to it is gorgeous, and they also do have the beautiful sounds of the bush in the background, so it does make it a really unique read. And also Emma Long's illustrations are beautiful and detailed and just lovely. It does include one of the local languages and a glossary at the back of the book, and it's just stunning. So thank you very much to Alan and Unwin for the review title. I was so excited to read it, and this comes out this week. And then a picture book that comes out at the end of June. This one is by Hachette, so thank you very much to them for sending it to me, is ABC Disability, an alphabet with a difference because we are all different, by Sarah Rose with Ali Pascoe and illustrated by Beck Finer. This is an alphabet book, but it's all about disability, and the words and the language used in here are absolutely beautiful. It talks about a variety of invisible and visible disabilities. It includes Auslan signs for learning the alphabet as well, which was wonderful. It is beautiful, bright and inclusive, and just a really wonderful and a really great addition to any picture book collection, particularly if you are building up your books that feature disability or disability representation. So I was super excited to receive this, so thank you again to the publisher. Then I read Magpies and Mayhem by Elsie Winters. This is the second book in the Badlands series, and I'm really enjoying this. It's probably technically classed as a fantasy romance, but I think it leans a little bit more into the paranormal fantasy side of things, which is probably why I get along with it so well. And in this one, we are following Sydney, who is the best friend from the main character from the first book. She is a magpie shifter and comes from a large clan of magpie shifters, and she lives with her younger brother, and she is out one day. She likes to collect information. She's a magpie, she likes to collect things. And one day she's out and she stumbles across some information about some magical daggers that she's, might be going to pilfer, but she ends up stumbling across dragon eggs. She needs to enlist the help of her friends and also Jordan, who is the best friend of her best friend's husband. Jordan is someone that Sydney knew when she was growing up. He was one of her older brother's best friends, but he was turned into a vampire, and vampires are still kind of pariahs in this world. And he's been weird around Sydney ever since, and she's also been weird around him. But before he was turned into a vampire, he was able to control and create fire and warmth, and he's maintained that ability, and so the dragon eggs need warmth, and so he comes in to help. And he is also working for a group. They're kind of like a supernatural police force made up of vampires. It forces Sydney and Jordan to work a little bit more closely together, particularly when one of the dragons imprints on Sydney, and basically she needs to keep it and raise it, and then when it starts setting everything on fire, she really needs Jordan's help. And so it is the two of them overcoming their weirdness around each other and falling in love. And Sydney is just completely snarky and lovable, and Jordan is just a tortured soul. And when you find out about how he turned into a vampire, it was not a non-consensual turning. Like you understand why he is the way he is and why he's a little bit grumpy and why he sets himself apart from Sydney initially. And I just really, really enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable time and a good choice when I finish my reports to just read something completely different. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about in this video is another review title. It is Lace 'Em Up by Elise Faber. It is book 1 in the Bang Brothers series, which is a 6-book series, I think, that follows a family of siblings, 5 brothers and 1 sister, and they're all written by different authors. So somehow I managed to sign myself up to receive a review copy of Elise Faber's book, which is totally fine. I'm actually really enjoying her writing. This also fits into another series of Elise Faber's, the Eagles Hockey series. I think this would be book 2 in that series. So it's like kind of sits across or straddles 2 series. And this is the story of Rory and Kingston. Kingston is a hockey player. He plays for the Eagles. He's driving home one night and on the side of the road, he sees this big white fluffy thing. And it turns out to be a woman in a wedding dress. And the woman is Rory, who is one of his friend's best friends. When he gets closer, he realizes that she has been assaulted and she is very upset. And even though they don't really get along and they sort of get on each other's nerves, he takes her home and takes care of her and gets everyone involved who needs to be involved. And it turns out that her fiance on her wedding day has assaulted her. And it's really the story of Kingston stepping in to help her and to try and keep her safe. And yes, the ex-fiance does turn up a couple of times and it continues to be violent and abusive and just a horrible, horrible example of a human being. Alongside that, you also have Kingston, who comes, as I said, comes from quite a large family, and his mother is determined to see all of her children happy just the way that she is. And that includes meddling in their love lives. And she has made a few mistakes with Kingston along the way, including a really toxic ex who also has ties to Rory. And so she is constantly turning up in the book as well, trying to matchmake. And at one point, Rory just says, well, she's seen the wedding dress in the cupboard. She has made an assumption. Let's just pretend to be engaged. And it'll get her off your back and she'll go back home and we can tell her we've broken it off later on. So you have a fake engagement as well. But obviously real feelings are developing, and it was just like for the heavy content in it, it was still quite an easy read. And also, again, just a great way to sort of end the month on something that was at its core essentially low stakes. Yeah, I had a good time with it, and I'll probably continue to try to read the rest of the series. There's a couple of authors in there that I'm a bit about, but I'm invested enough now in the family of siblings. The next one is a single dad hockey player who has 2 kids, and I'm curious to see where that one goes, so I'll probably continue. And that is my wrap up for the week. In the comments, I'd love to know if you've read any of these books, if you're planning on picking any of them up, or if you have read something else this week that you'd like to share with me, feel free to do so. If you just want to let me know that you're here but you don't leave a comment, feel free to leave any kind of nature or wildlife emoji down below that you would like to. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're on the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.